Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. Phil and Nick are here. We might have a surprise guest, but I don't know. It kind of depends on whether or not he finds his headphones and whether or not he takes a nap. But we're here. Raggle Fraggle asked for it. So if you have a gripe with spreadsheets and nerd crap and financial crap, you can take it up with him. He's probably in the comments right now. Yeah, there he is in the comments. You can feel free to lodge all your complaints at him. He's the complaint department for the night.
True.
But yeah, this is that one time a year where like I indulge in nerdy crap and I actually talk. My degree, my education is in business and finance. So unlike a lot of people in the preparedness community, like I do advocate for things like IRAs and savings accounts. And like, you know, we all agree it's monopoly money, but as long as it still spends, it pays to know how the game is played. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, and on the off chance that the world continues to exist. Now, I know that is a stretch.
It's been stumbling along in spite of itself pretty okay so far.
I mean, governments do seem to try very often to antagonize their citizens to the point of destroying themselves. But for whatever reason, I mean, so far retirement's been the safest bet in the U.S. for like, what is it? 70 years, 80 years.
And kind of my perspective is like, if I've met those people and I don't begrudge them, but I just frankly disagree. But I've met those people out there who look at talks about finance and retirement and everything as if it's a fool's errand, because in their mind, like the world is going to collapse. So we should just get ready for that. And I'm like, but what happens if the world doesn't?
You know, I think part of that is, and I've met some of these people too, and the one thing that I've noticed about them is a lot of them have been very burned out by life in general as it sits now.
Kind of doomers to begin with,
they're very bitter about the way life is right now for a number of reasons. Some of them legitimate, some of them their own fault. But they almost want it to happen. They want it all to go away because they seem to think that though they have not succeeded in this, what I would call very comfortable, remarkably easy society, that they think that in a harder, less comfortable society that they will suddenly become the like top dog.
Yeah. The other group
it's possible.
The other group I've met that I can't seem to get on board with is they're the bunch that like. Have you ever met that person that like their whole worldview is built to reinforce a preconceived notion?
Yes.
I've met quite a few people that like dead end job, no retirement savings, and they get to a certain point where they want it all to go tits up, because then they're in no worse shape than everybody else is, and maybe better depending on how they view their preparedness. But it's like I tell everybody, I'm like, if you don't want to be that guy who was 72 years old working as a Walmart greeter, like if you even want a chance at retirement one day, it's not. I don't think it's prohibitively expensive. I don't think it's difficult. I think it's doable. I do think that like the best day to start is yesterday, and the second best day is today.
It's the same with the tree planting analogy. I mean, these things take time and they take diligence.
Oh, yes.
And that's the part that where a lot of people fall short is when things get difficult. It is very easy to see that pile of retirement savings there and go, I could use that right now.
Well, and we've talked about doom spending as a phenomenon in society these days. Like,
it's extremely common. I see it more and more now in people that not people in my social circles, but people in my parasocial circles. You know, people you encounter out in the day-to-day life that you don't really know, but you hear them say these things. Like me and my wife were at we went out for a Valentine's Day dinner, and then we went out to the bar afterwards, and we to the local distillery, had a couple drinks, listened to some live music, and then went home. And one of the times while I was standing in line, grabbing a drink for us, because it's a little bit of a wait, busy night, the guy in front of me was talking to his girlfriend, and they were discussing the fact that it doesn't matter. We're just going to spend it all because what are we going to do? It's not going to ever get any better. Well, it's not going to get any better if that's your attitude towards it, and that's the actions you're taking. You're pretty much guaranteeing yourself no success.
Well, and the group that hurts me the worst to watch them indulge in this, honestly, it's people that are young. Like, any discussion you have about retirement savings, any discussion you have about long-term financial health, any reasonable discussion about how interest-bearing assets accrue value, the numbers don't lie. The longer you save, the more things compound, the faster you get to an inflection point in that graph where, like, the graph stops doing this and starts doing this. And the earlier you start, the easier it is. Like, you can start saving for retirement in your early 20s when most of us didn't have a pot to piss in, when money was hard to come by. But if you start putting away minimal amounts of money, Starbucks money, half of what you spend taking your girl out for dinner one week, like, you put a minimum amount away every month, and you just sit on it and let it build interest over time. You start that in your 20s. Like, I didn't start saving for retirement until I was 30. And trust me, at 43, I am constantly reminding myself that I'm behind the curve. I'm trying to catch up. But for the guys that start younger, you're ahead of everybody.
When me and my wife sat down with a financial advisor when we started saving for retirement, we started saving for retirement before then. Thankfully, she's got a pension from what she does. But I didn't start saving for retirement until I was like 32, because that was when the company started offering a retirement plan. And I was just too focused on, we need a house. The house needs to be functional. And so I put all of my assets towards functional place to live. Because, well, shit, man, retirement doesn't do you any good if you don't have a place to live, I guess.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, houses are appreciating assets in and of themselves to a degree. I mean, yeah, little dips in the housing market like the one we're about to have any minute now, but over the long term.
Yeah, over the long term, it's at least a non-depreciating asset.
At least that.
You know, it's fairly safe. But we had a talk with our financial advisor, the guy that that runs the plan at my work, so we get a consultation with them every so many months. We can have a free consultation. And he told me, he said, look, I was 33 or 34 when we sat down and talked to him. He said, you guys are way ahead of the game. He said, I typically do not see people until they're in their mid-40s and they have zero retirement savings. Oof. He said the average person he sees is a 42 to 46-year-old person with no to very little retirement savings. Maybe they hit their employee matching, but no more than that. Is the fact that you're here before your 40s, he said you're kind of ahead of the game, which I thought was good. But it's also that's kind of scary to think about, that a lot of these people are not even considering sitting down with a financial planner until they're in their mid-40s.
Yeah, that's frankly alarming.
It is, because there's a lot of that stuff that, like, you and I were having a conversation before the show about, you were attempting to build a spreadsheet to math out some of that stuff, and it wasn't quite working out right. But they have these tools already built, ready to go. And if your company has a retirement plan, which they pretty much all do, they're all required to if they have more than, I think, 5 employees where I live now. So you can probably get access to a financial advisor. I think mine was like $500 to one-time fee, $500, and you get lifetime consultations through that plan.
That's not awful. Let me
It's really not.
Let me go back through and hit a listener question, and then we'll do admin work, and then we'll dig into the topic. And I got a message from our possible surprise guest who said, send me a link to join. And I had to remind him that he can get into StreamYard all of his own volition, so he's just got to remember how to do it.
He should be able.
Oh, he does.
Oh, unless
no. He does. I can't spoil the surprise. Suffice to say, if he does make it in, I'm going to grouse him because I have intentionally left groundwork so that he can make his way in anytime he wanted.
Oh, good.
And that amount of forethought and prior planning, is not always typical of this show. No. But Raggle said the problem with that and the crux of why I asked for this, those investments haven't been keeping up with inflation over the last 6 years. So let's do the admin work.
Correct.
And then let's start the topic. I actually had a mini topic. We're going to punt till next week.
Sure.
Because, we just went right off the rails right from the beginning. But anyway.
I get distracted.
And then you distract me.
Yes.
All right. Patrons are in the chat. Patrons are harassing us and haranguing us and promoting bad behavior and contributing to our delinquency, but we appreciate them. They keep the show on the road. Code MOF at Disaster Coffee. I am drinking Disaster Coffee, and on Monday I will have 15 more pounds of bunker beans going on that shelf back there, plus 2 boxes of our coffee pods, because at my workplace, unfortunately, it's Keurig machines or do without.
Have you seen the reusable Keurig pods?
Yes.
We bring those with us on vacation, and we bring our own coffee. You could try that.
So, I could, but the problem is that our sinks at work don't have garbage disposals, and to minimize mess, what I actually did was Amazon sells sleeves you can buy in bulk of do-it-yourself disposable coffee pods. They have a little snap top lid and a little gasket and the little membrane on the top that the needle punches through.
Yeah.
It's a self-contained Keurig compatible, because you can't use the trademark, but Keurig compatible pod. Oh, look who's about to join. I'm just going to sit here and wait for him to boot himself in. He knows how.
I think he can click the button.
Hi.
Oh, the button. My God.
How's it going,
You needed
man?
that reminder that you still had admin privileges, huh, bud?
Well, I just couldn't remember which I couldn't remember which the host was.
All right, so for the audio listeners, long how do I put this? Long time no see, co-host Andrew has rejoined us.
Yeah, a random night off.
Well, I mean,
that's nice.
I'm not mad, and you picked the worst time to come back when we're going to talk about finance. But it's Garrick's fault.
We told you guys he was alive.
It's Raggle Fraggle's fault. He asked for it. Literally.
Hey, Raggle Fraggle. Yeah, no, it's been a busy year, 2 years, or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it has been.
Jeff Jag, he's alive. Raggle Fraggle saying, welcome back, buddy. You've been missed, bud.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You caught us right in the middle of admin work, and I got distracted again, which just tends to be, the way things go. Merch of the Southern Gals, links in the show description. Buy a shirt, make Chris happy. Now, Andrew, I think we told you before the show started, we're talking finance. The title for the episode is Mo Money, Mo Problems. And Garrick originally asked in the vein of, how do you beat inflation, which, of course, meant that my autistic finance nerd kicked in. And I was like, well, you beat inflation by not making dumb decisions, first of all.
But it's easy to make dumb decisions.
Yeah, but
they're fun.
But there's fun dumb decisions. Okay, there's dumb decisions like smacking your significant other on the butt and running away giggling like a schoolgirl. That's a fun dumb decision.
True. And free.
Oh no, you end up paying for it one way or the other, bud.
Some consequences are worth suffering.
But that's why it's a fun, dumb decision, because the consequences are fun. And then there's dumb decisions, which is like financing a car for 96 months at 20% interest, which I built a spreadsheet to illustrate why that's a dumb decision. because y'all asked for it.
They did.
But before we get into that, we got one banner we got to talk about before we get to discussions about inflation and interest rates and financing on all those sorts of things. So first of all, I have to explain to the listeners what currency is. Mm-hmm. Don't be a smart aleck and say it's money, Phil, because I know that, but that's not the point. So,
it's
like,
propagated by the government.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It is technically.
So yes, it is that, but
you're not wrong.
Currency in definition form is a medium of exchange. It's like, the old adage I use is that if I have goats and Andrew has chickens and Nick has cows, obviously he's going to want a whole lot more chickens for his cow because it's a whole bunch of meat and the chicken's a little bitty. You ain't going to trade it one for one. So there's got to be an exchange rate of chickens to cows or whatever. And the problem is, if I don't have enough chickens to buy Nick's entire cow, or if he doesn't want to sell his entire cow, now we're in a situation where we can't execute the trade because we don't have an equivalent means of transitioning that asset. This is where currency comes into play. Once we all get together and agree, a chicken's worth $1 and a cow's worth $100, now it's 100 chickens to one cow, or we just make these little pieces of paper with dead presidents on them, and we can trade that back and forth for assets, as long as we all agree, gentleman's agreement, that the piece of paper is worth the same thing, and we don't fool around. This is, by the way, fiat currency. It's currency that's not backed by anything. See, there was a time in this country and most countries where your currency either had precious metal embedded in it, or at a minimum we had precious metal set off someplace on the side, and we only made X number of dollars relative to that amount of currency, that amount of precious metal. So the dollar bill was backed by something. And then at some point in our nation's history, and most nations, they got this wild idea to decouple the currency from the assets. And then that freed them up to just print all they wanted. Whenever they had a new bill to pay, they just print more. This would be like if we all agree that the dollar's worth $1 and 100 of them buys a cow and one buys a chicken, and the next thing you know, Phil's got the Hewlett Packards churning them out because I want to buy more cows. The minute everybody else gets onto the idea that Phil's got a money tree in his backyard, he's printing dollar bills, all faith in the dollar goes to hell. Or let's say I call myself government, so I have the legal right to print as much as I want. So we have $100 in circulation and I print another 100. What do you think just happened to the value of all those dollars? Because I just doubled the money supply. All those dollars are worth half what they were before. Why wouldn't they be? Mm-hmm. The dollar is only a means of exchange that's ostensibly backed by the GDP of a country, and if the GDP didn't double but the money supply did, then the assets, the currency is worth half what it was before. I'm not making any of this up. This is just basic supply and demand, and supply and demand does apply to currency, even though people want us to act like it doesn't.
Although I would argue that there is an alternate source of backing that the current U.S. dollar is backed by, Phil. Do you know what that is?
The threat that we will bomb your country to ash if you don't.
Snatch your dictator in the middle of the night and blow up your country's heroes' tombstones.
I mean...
Yeah.
It's a little dark, but I can't argue with you because, that has kind of always been the...
Use the dollar or else. Saddam was going off the dollar, wanted to go off the petrodollar, wanted to start trading oil for gold instead of U.S. dollars. Guess what? Oh, darn, we invaded Iraq because Saudi terrorists from Pakistan, was Pakistani terrorists funded by the Saudis and trained by the CIA, blew up towers in the U.S., so we invaded Iraq.
Didn't Gaddafi also want to get off the dollar, stop using the petrodollar?
Gaddafi did, and Hillary Clinton decided that he needed a Saddam. Yep.
Are there any government watch lists I'm not already on? Because I think this might do it if we're missing any. Mm. Andrew's just going to sit there quietly and watch me wait until the black van the black van pulls up out front to haul me off.
Well, look, backing your currency by force, that is a valid way to back it. I mean, You could argue that it's backed by precious metals. I mean, those Tomahawk cruise missiles have got some silver in them, don't they?
I'm sure they do. Probably some gold. Some gold plating on the electrical contacts too.
Mm-hmm. There you go. But it's roundabout precious metal backed currency.
But mostly it's the high explosive. I'm pretty sure that's backing the currency.
Yeah.
Anyway, so does anybody want to talk about currency before I get to the turbo nerdy part of this show?
Cryptocurrency is not currency, it's unregulated securities. And I will not be dissuaded from that. That's it. That's all I got.
See,
they're not currencies, they're unregulated securities.
I understand what Bitcoin was going after in theory. And
yeah, but it didn't do it.
The inherent problem I have with Bitcoin is pretty much the inherent problem I have with like most non-hard assets. Like we started off by basically saying that like, you know, this is all monopoly money, it's all fiat currency, it's all ones and zeros in a computer someplace, and if the world goes to the moon tomorrow, it's all gone. Bitcoin's just like that. But in the interim, as long as everyone agrees it has value, I mean, if you want to put a couple of bucks into it and ride the roller coaster, go for it. I'm just going to ask that you do with Bitcoin like I recommend you do with everything, and diversify your portfolio and do not stick all your money in it.
Look, you can trade Rembrandts too, but it's not it's not necessarily an agreed upon means of exchange. Look, the reason why I call cryptocurrencies a security instead of a currency is because there is no agreed value of those currencies. There isn't. That's why the price fluctuates so wildly. Yes, the dollar fluctuates in value a little bit compared to other currencies, but percentage-wise, way lower than the fluctuations you get in crypto.
Yeah. Well, it's also worth pointing out that like the value of crypto and the value of all your stocks, it doesn't go up and down by like the value. Okay. Apple's stock price today and tomorrow and the day after is not going up or down based on the value of that company in the moment. It's kind of the tail wagging the dog. It's speculation on the anticipated value of the company driving the stock up and down. And because it's a publicly traded company, the stock going up and down that wildly does influence the valuation of the company. But it's not as if the company that was churning out iPhones yesterday, if the stock loses half its value, it's not like the company lost half of its value. The company was valued at whatever product it can create and sell and whatever profit it can generate. It's the speculation on what the company might do over time that drives that stock value up and down. And I think people like really get that confused with the company's worth based on the stock value. They're linked, but it's not the company driving the stock value, if that makes sense. It's the stock value driving the valuation of the company.
Yes.
And the stock value is driven by speculation, which quite frankly is what drives gold futures, silver futures, oil futures. It's all driven by speculation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
that's also where bubbles come from. But I'm going to call out Andrew in a minute if he doesn't start speaking.
You guys are talking finance. I don't know nothing.
Bruh.
You know enough. You have done a house at least once. Yeah. I slept in it. The bed was comfy.
Yep, I slept in his bed right next to a like cruiser ready 1301. It was quite a vibe.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
Make sure you tell everybody that I was on the couch and Gillian was with you, because you know.
I mean, I wasn't. I was going to tell everybody you and I shared a bed and I was the big spoon, but you ruined that. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, it's to be expected.
I would throw that in just to make Eddie jealous.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to the part of the show that's going to put everybody to sleep, or someone might actually find this interesting. So in the past, like, I've gone on my rants about interest rates and financing and blah 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 blah. We've done all this before, but this time I had a really stupid idea.
I don't know if stupid's the right word.
It's gonna be a stupid idea because we're never gonna do this again because no one's gonna find it interesting unless somebody does, and we'll see.
Hey, we get asked to go over this stuff at least once a year by somebody.
Yeah.
It just so happened this time it was Raggle.
So what I did, and as of right now, I cannot see what's going on in StreamYard because I'm focused on a spreadsheet. What I did was I built out a spreadsheet to kind of like crunch numbers on auto loans. And this is really tailored towards auto loans, but the math, it works out the principles work the same on anything. It's just going to be longer terms. So,
see, Raggle likes spreadsheets.
Does Raggle like spreadsheets? I can't see what he's saying.
He said, ooh, spreadsheets.
Yeah, fair warning for all those involved. I am a gigantic spreadsheet nerd. I have been since before college, and it's not getting any better over time. But anyway, so what I have here is I just dumped some numbers in, $50,000 principal, 7% interest rate. This is ostensibly like your average new car loan right now, about 50 grand. 7% is about the prime credit score, the prime interest rate if you have a perfect credit score.
It's 7%.
I mean, we could take it down to 5.5 if you want.
No, that's fine. Leave it at 7. I just didn't realize it was that high.
Oh, it goes higher.
Oh, no, I know. I have heard of up to like 36% car loans.
The worst I heard of was 29.9, and we'll do that here in a minute. But anyway,
Oof.
So these are the numbers that y'all need to pay attention to. This principal, this interest rate, and this is a wild card because I have to actually plug this in real time to make the math. So the way this works is that you start out with your $50,000 in principal, you make your payment, this much is interest, this much is principal paid, and this is your first month, and second month, and third, and fourth, and so on and so forth. So if we drag this out to 60 months, which is a 5-year auto loan, you can see right there is where the principal remaining drops down like $4.30, and I'm just not pissing around with the pennies to try to make this go to zero, because it's not going to perfectly. But anyway, so 5 years, $990, that pays your interest, that pays off all your principal. This gets you back down to zero, and you own the asset, and you paid $514.50 over the life of this loan. Follow me so far, boys?
Yep.
So now, here's the thing. There's a couple of numbers we can play with here, and I will let you two tell me how y'all want to play this game. Either we jack around with the principal or we jack around with the interest rate, and then either one of these means I have to toy with this, and we'll keep this at a 5-year loan. Or I can show y'all how catastrophically stupid of an idea it is to stretch this loan repayment out further and further and further, and what that does to your monthly payment and how much interest you wind up paying over that longer span of time. So how you want to play this game? Responsibly or stupidly?
Oh, stupidly.
Stupidly. Okay. So how stupid do you want to get? Because this spreadsheet goes all the way out to 96 months.
The worst auto loan I've ever heard of was 36% for 7 years.
Okay. 36%.
Now, I can't confirm that that's real, but one of the guys at the dealership that I've bought vehicles from has told me he's seen a 36% car loan for 7 years.
We're going up, so we need... What was that? Bear with me. I got to put in stupid numbers to make this.
Oh, you do?
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. 1650, 1640, 1635. Now we're getting close. 1636, 1637, 1636, 50 maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably about as close as I'm willing to try to get this. So, 7-year loan repayment, 84 months, $50,000 principal, an average used car, not even a really expensive one, 36% interest, which is higher than I've ever heard of.
Like I said, no proof that was real, but I don't think the guy had a reason to lie about it.
Yes. Well, your
total interest paid
more than the vehicle was worth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, understand how this is working. So we start out way over here back at month 1. And the way this works is that basically you have this monthly payment, which it then has to calculate interest based on, which is based on your remaining principal. And technically, most of these loans don't re-amortize every month. They re-amortize every year, but I'm not effing around with the spreadsheet enough to try to make it do that. So y'all are just going to have to live with this as an example. But based on the amount of interest calculated at that interest rate off of this principal, this is all that you're paying against the principal in month 1 is $136.50. And this is lesson number 2 on top of stretching out loan payments is dumb. Your first month, your first payment, this is all you paid towards principal. You paid $1,600 in change, mortgage money, and you paid $136.50. Half of my weekly grocery run, less than half my weekly grocery run, and that's all you paid off on the principal. Matter of fact, if we take this out to your first year, you only paid $1,937.20 against the principal by the end of the first year. And in that amount of time, you paid $17,780 in interest by the end of the first year. Are you starting to understand why we're having a discussion about interest rates and financing? Because Raggle wanted to ask about how you beat inflation. You beat inflation by not doing this.
Well, I would argue that you can't beat inflation. What you can just do is make it less worse.
But making it less worse is still a really good idea.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Now, here's the thing. Let's look at this reasonably. Same payment, 7%. Trying to think what I had. Let's 5 years. That's a good reasonable rate. I think I had like $636 and some change in here.
Something like that.
$650. See, I had this all set up and then I lost my place. I should have had this sitting off on the side. Okay, now I have screwed something up.
Oh no, we broke it.
Yeah, we broke something. Yeah, we broke something.
Control Z. Keep going. I don't know how many iterations back it'll go.
I mean, it'll go quite a few. Okay, here's where we started.
There you go.
$990, that's $50,000, 7% interest rate. So this is where we started. Now, what I wanted to point out was, this is so we can pay off in 5 years. Let's look at the effect of having a really crappy credit score. So let's take that 7%, turn it into 9%, and now we need to throw how much extra to get this loan back down to 0? 1,040, 1,030, 1,035, getting closer, 1,036. Okay, so 1,037 and some change. So we started at what, $990? You got to throw an extra $50 basically at this loan if your interest rate goes up 2 points.
Yep.
Not awful.
No.
But now let's take it to 19%. This is subprime, by the way. This is car got repoed, can't keep a job, can't keep the lights turned on. This is not as catastrophic as I've seen, because the minute you get 1 or 2 repos, like your interest rates at that point are hovering in the 25 to 29% range. They get catastrophically bad. But at 92% interest, at the 5-year mark, we still owe half the value of this vehicle at the 5-year mark.
And so you're probably looking at what, like 2,050 something for a payment?
Oh, we're getting close.
Not that much.
1350. 1290. 1295. Getting close. 1296. 1297 might put us a hair over. Okay.
That's close enough. $2.
$1,297 monthly payment will pay off that loan in 5 years. Your total interest paid, though, you remember we started off at like $5,500 total interest paid. Now with a 19% interest rate, that total interest paid has jumped up to just a hair over $12,000. But it's still not going as ballistic as it did with a much better interest rate when you stretch this out to 8 years. This is the lesson I'm trying to drive home, because I know that, you know, Chunky Orange Republican recently got this brilliant idea that we should stretch out mortgages to 50 years. And the minute I heard that, I literally started seething in anger.
The only thing that does is increases housing prices.
It increases housing prices. It increases the amount of, I mean, we've proven this mathematically. It increases the amount of the total interest you'll pay over the lifetime of a mortgage astronomically. It all but guarantees that you will basically be a renter for life.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, because the only people that are going to be buying houses then are going to be people that already have equity in properties and can roll that equity either into a new house or can roll that equity into a second, third, fourth home.
Yeah. But like I said,
especially if you can turn it into an income property.
Yeah. Anyway, the only other thing I want to illustrate, and then we're going to hop off of this for a second, was, you know, when we first started off talking, we were talking about how much interest gets paid versus how much principal gets paid. And obviously, when you stretch these loan terms out further and further, you end up with a lot more interest paid initially and a lot less principal. But that has an alternate effect that a lot of people don't think about. See, $698.33. Nick, I don't want to dig in your finances too much, but like, do you have consistently an extra $700 a month to throw at something where you can make a double principal payment?
Yeah.
But would it make
part of why I'm considering buying a boat? But
would it make sense to do that versus putting that same money in your IRA or into your house to pay off that debt further? Like, is $700 extra a month a wise investment to pay off a depreciating asset, or is that better spent putting it someplace where it's going to increase in value over time? That's a math problem.
Well, it is a math problem, and here's what I'll say to that. Me and my wife were very fortunate, and we bought our house when interest rates were phenomenally low. I don't remember what our exact mortgage rate is. It's below 3%. So we got a screaming deal on that money. It will never make sense to pay a dime more than we have to for the minimum on that mortgage, because it is well below inflation. Well, not anymore. I think they said inflation's down to like 3% now, so it might be close to inflation. But I think last I checked, my retirement account is doing an annual return of like 12 or 13%. It's doing really well. So, no. Car loan is doing worse. The interest rate on the car loan is significantly lower than the rate of return I'm getting on retirement investments. So, you know, no, it doesn't. Now, that said, if you have that money and you can get that debt gone sooner, that's less interest you're going to pay. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just, if you can get more return somewhere else, the money, in my opinion, is better placed there.
I'm playing with some numbers because I'm trying to get back to something I had figured out a while ago.
Sure. But, you know, there's a lot to be said, and maybe Andrew can chime in on this, for having the lack of stress from not having that debt hanging over your head.
There is something to be said for that. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that this is rough numbers, and not to the penny, not by any means. But this is rough numbers. What I financed for the truck I have now. And this is what I'm trying to get at here. I didn't have, especially because, you know, when I bought this, Gillian bought her Jeep. Money wasn't super tight, but, you know, we were trying to build a savings and everything else and putting into retirement. I didn't always necessarily have an extra $300 to chuck at this. It got spent on things like, you know, feeding a family.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to double this $377 a month car payment. All you have to do is throw an extra 50 or $100 a month consistently at this. And now, what's $50 on top of $377? That's like $422, I think.
Yeah, $423.
And $423, an extra $50, and we pay this loan off 8 months early.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to illustrate here is like,
cut the interest almost in half.
yeah. So here's the kicker. Finance a reasonable amount. I'm not here to tell you buy used. I'm not here to tell you buy new. They both have their ups and downs. I will just say that if you buy something new, just make peace with the fact that it's going to lose 30% of its value the minute it sticks a tire off the dealership's lot. And if you can't afford to put that much down to like cover 30% of the value of the vehicle so that you're right side up on it the day you put 1 mile on it, you probably are not in the market to buy new cars. You probably should be looking to use. Keep your credit score as high as possible within reason. Don't get caught up in the juju of like chasing the perfect credit score and credit utilization, all this other nonsense. If your credit score is like low 700s and up, you're probably doing okay enough to get a decent interest rate. But the secret,
Phil, have you ever tracked your credit score over like 6 months on a weekly basis?
I don't care enough to.
I did to prove to one of my coworkers that it's witchcraft. I have seen my credit score. Now, I pay my bills twice a month. They are paid on the 1st and the 15th every month. Every single month, without fail, they're all paid. Our credit utilization stays at about the same. You know, we use credit cards here, there, shop online, gas, whatever. Pay them off pretty much every month. And I have watched my credit score hockey puck 25 to 30 points inside of a month.
Which is exactly the reason why I said I don't care enough
just
to watch.
Insane. Exactly. It's like I said, it's witchcraft. The number really doesn't mean anything as long as you try and stay above like 700.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to drive home is like if you finance a reasonable amount, if you keep your interest rate as low as possible, and by the way, credit unions are usually a good place to go looking for low interest rates, and you make a little bit of an extra effort to pay the vehicle off early, just 25, 50, 75 bucks a month extra. Find the freaking money someplace. If you financed a vehicle and your financial situation is such that you don't have $50 a month extra to put towards paying it off, you probably finance too much and you're stretched too thin. Like, I'm just being really harsh but very realistic with you. Like, $50 a month should be doable. And it cuts the interest rate so quick. And it the 8 months that it pays it off sooner is cool, but the paying less interest over the life alone is really the secret sauce. This is one of my little secrets about how you beat inflation is just smarter financial decisions. You make your money stretch further.
Yeah.
Because when you pay a lot
that's really what it is.
And when you pay a lot of interest, you're literally taking a pile of money, going out in the front yard, setting it on fire and throwing it up in the air.
Yep. Yeah, you are wasting a certain percentage of your income that way.
Yeah. So,
well, not wasting. You're giving it away.
Mm-hmm. So, since we're talking interest rates and financing, I just got one other thing to throw in here. Now, I thought I was going to be really smart, and I actually had a third tab to the spreadsheet prepared, but right before we went on, I couldn't convince myself that the math was mathing, and Nick agreed with me that the math wasn't mathing.
No.
Something in my calculations was really screwy because it was saying that, like, the IRA that I had, like, built out in Excel was like increasing value at a rate that's just not mathematically possible.
No, it was like, what was it? Going up 11 times in 10 years, which
yeah,
your money will about double in the stock market or in an IRA in every 10 years or so.
The wacky part of it, though, is that like at the 1 year mark and even at the 5 year mark, like the wheels were still on the bus. It was plausible.
It was close.
And then when you got you got to 120 months, it was like, nope, this no longer makes sense.
Yeah.
But I built this tab out, and this is a really stupid simple thing with a pretty graph at the end. This just illustrates a point. Because we started off talking about investing young and starting young, and the fact that this is a marathon, not a sprint race. So what I wanted to ballpark was, let's say you purchase an appreciating asset. It's valued at $100 today, and none of this accounts for inflation, and I get that. Just stick with me. It's a principle I'm trying to illustrate. And your rate of return is 5%. Given that the stock market tends to outperform that, year after year, with the exception of major downturns. Well,
I was going to say, isn't 8% considered the all-time average?
We can do that if you want.
Well, I was just saying for people's knowledge, I believe 8% is considered the average, up years, down years, all years combined, which is why most people recommend you never draw more than 4% out of your retirement account after you retire in a year.
Yeah. But
because then you still have growth to keep up with inflation.
But here's what we're looking at. Month 1, month 2, month 3, $100 starting value, and this is interest accruing month to month. And as we track this out over a 10-year period, that asset has appreciated pretty precipitously in value, but this is the part, this is the graph. This is the thing I want to drive home. So, y'all have heard me talk before about when the graph goes vertical. And this is what I'm referring to. You see that first, this is about your 5-year mark right in here. And you see that the graph is really just, it's a slight increase. It's nice and easy. And then we get to a certain point here where that graph starts picking up speed and turning more and more vertical. And this is the miracle of compounding interest. You earn interest on the principal, the interest combines with the principal, and the next time you earn interest, you earn more interest. And it combines and combines and goes up and up and up. And this is why I say things like start early, start young. Because this point right here in the graph where things start to really pick up speed, this is not a set age. This is the age of the investment. You have to reach a certain point before that investment really starts to take off and become a vertical line. And this is true of stocks. This is true of gold. This is true of IRAs. This is true of any asset that appreciates over time. This is true of housing values. The earlier you buy in, the cheaper you buy in, the longer you hold, the quicker you reach this point where the graph starts to pick up speed. If you look at a traditional or a Roth IRA and you track value over time and you put in any goofy numbers you want, you see this inflection point where the graph stops doing this and starts doing this. I've seen it myself. Yep. I'm 13 years into saving for retirement, and it's really only been within the last couple of years that the IRA has really started to pick up speed, where the interest earned month over month is becoming a meaningful amount. Newsflash, I'm not retiring, not yet, and certainly not on the back of this podcast or that tiny little IRA. But the point is, I'm beginning to see that the inflection point is starting to develop, where things are starting to escalate, but really, the amount that you accrue in your last year of saving for retirement will be a noticeable amount more than what you accrued in the first year, because the principal that you're earning interest on is higher in the last year.
Yep.
But funny little thing about spreadsheets, you get to fool with the numbers in real time. So you said 8%, right? That's about average?
I believe if I remember correctly what I was told by the financial advisor, you can anticipate about 8% annual growth averaged out throughout your lifetime.
All right. Now, did you see what happened to this graph? Ignore the numbers. Did you see what happened to this graph as we changed that interest rate?
The hockey stick gets much steeper.
Yes. Now, part of that is because if we stretch this out, matter of fact, I'm going to do this, and I'm probably going to hate myself for it. Yes, I hate myself for it. But for y'all...
You've done the graph.
Yeah, but for y'all, I will monkey around with this a whole bunch in real time. So you see here, admittedly, this is kind of goofy at this point because, we're trying to model a very large graph in a fairly small window.
I think your math got wonky again.
Yeah, I think it got wonky too.
It did, because it suddenly is up to $1 million, and that's not right.
No, it's not right. But the trend The trend is not wrong.
No, the trend is not wrong, but there's something screwy going on with your math.
Yeah. By the way, this is exactly what happened with the other tab. Was that the numbers just went berserk at a certain point, and I couldn't justify like why it was doing that. And the weird part is that I'm really good at spreadsheets, and I've double checked my math and the formulas 3 times, including at 7:29 Central right before we went on. And I still can't figure out like what I'm overlooking.
Floating point error?
Um,
Because I know that's a thing you get in spreadsheets every once in a while with maths.
I'll be honest with you, bud. I suspect about 5 minutes after we hang up, I will probably look at it and be like, "Oh, Phil, you're a moron." But
Oh, well, at least you'll figure it out eventually.
Oh, eventually I will. But I don't know. I got this idea at like 6:30 to build this because I didn't want to just talk about this again. I wanted to actually like be able to put numbers to it and show y'all graphs and like demonstrate for the listeners why this stuff works the way it does. Instead of just, typical Phil talking about nonsense like usual.
I wouldn't call it nonsense.
I mean, you're kind. I would call it nonsense. Andrew would definitely call it nonsense. Andrew, every time I'd make him sit through this every year, he would fall asleep. On camera.
That's okay. He's working on it. A proper nap is a skill. But, it illustrates the point, Phil, of how important emergency funds are.
Yeah.
And I bring this up a lot on the podcast. We live in a capitalist society. The vast majority of our problems and emergencies can be solved with money. And if you don't have to pay interest on that money, it's even cheaper.
So, story time. I still do have this coworker. He actually works for a different agency than I do now, but still in the same department. So, like, we still bump into each other. But years and years ago, I want to be kind. His financial literacy is not what mine is. He's not an unintelligent guy at all. Very, very smart. He is to IT what I am to finance. Like, this dude used to run SATCOMs for Air Force FS units, the SF units. The dude could friggin' like set up comms in the middle of a war zone, blindfolded, under fire. But that being said, at the time, he was in a situation where every time an emergency would come up, that I would just emergency fund, he would go get the credit card and they have to pay the credit card back. And I pointed out to him, I'm like, dude, like every time you swipe the credit card, you're paying interest, and that interest is just eating a hole into you. Like you're taking money, lighting it on fire and throwing it up in the air. Like every single time there's an emergency. And he was like, yeah, but I can't build savings. And I was kind about it. I was my version of kind about it, which probably means I was being an ass. But I did point out to him, like, dude, like you and your girlfriend,
you weren't wrong.
You and your girlfriend both smoke. Like you go to the barbershop, get your hair done every week. Like you spend money on things you could curtail, and you would have an emergency fund within, I think my estimate was like 5 weeks. He could have a whole paycheck put aside from some pretty basic cuts.
I mean, what does a pack of cigarettes cost anymore? I think last time I walked into the gas station, they were like $12.
The last time I remember buying cigarettes, I want to say like $5.50, $6 a pack. I remember when I was in Iraq buying cartons for $22 a whack for a carton. But that was like no tax,
Marlboro
no
Reds,
duty.
which is kind of like your basic one, is $10 a pack.
Holy Jesus Christ.
In my state. Yeah, in my state, $10 a pack for Marlboro Reds. So if you're a pack a day, that's $100 a week, or no, that's $70 a week. Jesus.
Yeah.
There's your extra 50 plus some going out money towards your car payment right there, and just your cigarettes in 1 week.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I get it. If you're a smoker, like,
it's an addiction.
I have my chemical addictions too. Like, let's be realistic here. I'm just saying that, like, the ugly truth is that sometimes to better your financial health, it means you have to make sacrifices. You have to do things that are not fun, they're not popular, they're not comfortable, but they are necessary because Like y'all both heard like the old story, the parable of like the ant and the grasshopper. Everybody has. Very well-known children's story. There is no beating the math here of you suffer today, you profit tomorrow, or you have fun today, you pay for it tomorrow. There's no beating that math. I remember being a very young man, and my dad told me very, very frankly, he said, look, there's only 3 ways to get ahead in life. You can be born lucky, and Rabelais aren't. You can be born rich, and Rabelais aren't born rich either. Or you can work twice as hard for twice as long. You'll outwork everyone else. Mm-hmm. So from a young age, like I remember having this impressed upon me that like your work ethic, your ability to sacrifice, your ability to bust your butt, your ability to do without for a time to have more tomorrow, like that's how you win the game. And if you do the opposite, that's how you wind up getting rolled. Because back to what started this whole thing, like inflation is what it is. It's been a feature of the economy as long as I've been alive, for 43 years. It's probably going to be around plenty longer than I'm around.
I can't see the governments of the world deciding that hard currency is a thing again, because it would eliminate their ability to spend as recklessly as they do.
Bro, you don't even have, I'm not even like asking for hard currency. I'm just asking them to turn the money printer off. That's all I want.
Well, they can't either, because that would essentially end low interest rate loans.
I know that.
And by low interest rate, I mean below 15%.
Yes. I know that, you know that. I'm just saying. I think I have reasonable expectations that inflation will be around forever, which means
it will.
Which means if we accept the fact that inflation is going to be here forever, then the way you beat it is you don't do things that cost you more money needlessly, like financing nonsense you don't need or financing things you do need in stupid ways. Don't do any of that, because that's just wasting money. And your money's already going to be worth less tomorrow than it is today, so don't make the situation worse by burning it in the front yard to make the bankers happy. 2, you better start young and start planning for your retirement and start putting money away in something that's going to appreciate over time. And even though my math is wonky and I can't figure out why, and I'm pissed about that, the trends don't lie. Interest-bearing accounts do escalate in value towards the back end of their lifespan. The earlier you start, the faster you get to that inflection point. You can save half as much per month and start 10 years earlier, and you still beat the math by the end of it. Like, the maths. The earlier you start, the better off you are. And the other thing is, and like, to be really frank, like, none of us knows how many working years we have. We all would like to think we're going to take care of ourselves, we're going to be good to our bodies, we're going to be in good health, we're going to have lots and lots of ambulatory years ahead of us, but none of us knows. And that being said, if, God forbid, you end up getting taken out of the working world in, say, your mid-50s, when you were planning on working to 67 or 68, let's say best case scenario, you end up on like SSID, like disability, but you still didn't have those extra 10 years to plan for retirement to build that nest egg. The sooner you start, the less screwed you are. There's no downside to starting earlier.
No, I mean, there is some opportunity cost, though, that you do need to acknowledge, I think. Because, look, I'm going to be realistic here. I was able to buy a house as young as I did because I was not saving for retirement.
But
I also bought a $60,000 house.
But you also have to acknowledge the fact that I consider homeownership to be an investment in and of itself.
Oh, it absolutely is. It is an investment in and of itself. But there are opportunity costs, and you need to weigh those. Because you're going to need a place to live. You can either pay into your equity or you can pay a landlord.
Yeah.
Those are really your two options.
Although I would even say for the people that don't want to be homeowners, like, I don't think it's an immediate like game over, lose your turn if you don't become a homeowner. No. I would just say that
it's a deliberate choice, though.
But if you make that deliberate choice, then the gap between whatever your rent is and what your mortgage would have been, plus your homeowner's insurance, plus your flood insurance if you have that, so on and so forth.
Plus maintenance and repairs.
Whatever that gap is, That amount of money needs to go into your retirement. You are not going to live.
It should, yeah.
You are not going to have a fully paid off house to retire into because you're not going that route. But that money, that extra money you were saving versus if I'd gotten a mortgage, I'd had to pay all these extra fees. That money better be going into retirement because your only game at this point is to have enough residual income to pay rent all the way through your retired years until you don't have them anymore. And that's doable.
Which could be 40 years.
And it's doable, but you damn sure better plan ahead because I tell you what, if you think of it as, well, I'm saving myself $500 a month by not being a homeowner by renting, that's play money. You're going to be playing a lot when you're, 65 years old as a Walmart greeter because you didn't plan for your retirement. Because now you can't stop working because you got to make rent. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong here. It's just decisions and consequences at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are people whose lifestyles do not loan themselves well to home ownership. There really are.
And, quite frankly, there's also people that I don't even want to say their lifestyle. There are people that some people, your career doesn't lend itself to home ownership. For the person who travels a lot or wants to travel a lot, the career I had before I am where I am now, I lived out of a suitcase 6 months out of the year. If I weren't married, it would have made no sense to me to be a homeowner.
Oh, God.
I'd have been better off.
You wouldn't have been there to know if something went wrong at the minimum.
I'd have been better off in a one-bedroom apartment, paying rent, put the extra away in an account someplace, minimum bills. I'd have been better off in that way because 6 months out of the year, I was living out of a suitcase. I was all over the country. It would make no sense. And that's not even getting into the part of having pets or having this or that or something that depends on you all the time. That's just too much baggage for me to not be able to carry around with me. You better be able to compartmentalize your whole life into a bag and take it with you. But, frankly, that's one of the reasons I'm in the career I am now, because I have a wife and a daughter. I'd like to be home every night.
Yeah.
Oh, some of these comments that I couldn't see earlier are going to beg going back to.
That's fine. Go for it.
You covered some of these. Jeff Jag, sounds like Phil's not excited about Trump's attempt to save housing prices with a 50-year mortgage. A 50-year mortgage is not an attempt to save housing prices. It's a stupid idea thought of by a man who ought to know better.
No. He does know better, and he's banking on that increasing property values to benefit him and his other friends that are large owners of lots of property.
Is this the part where you tell me that this is a feature, not a flaw?
No, it's absolutely a feature.
Okay.
The feature is higher prices and better values for shareholders.
Okay. Well,
not for the individual homeowner.
Well, for all y'all out there, regardless of who you voted for in this past election, don't do that shit. Do not get a 50-year mortgage. I don't care.
30-year mortgages are insane.
30-year mortgages are tolerable. Tolerable. Okay.
They're tolerable because you were born and raised with them.
Also, they were far more tolerable
10 years.
when the interest rates were much lower.
Yeah.
But now that the interest rates are high.
For someone like me with a 3% rate, sure.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the situation you're in. But I would also say that, I hear what you're saying about, 10-year mortgages. But a 10-year mortgage is also a lot more palpable when the house isn't, $250,000 to start.
Do you know why the houses are more now, Phil?
Multiple reasons, but I'm assuming you're going to mention the 30-year mortgage.
The 30-year mortgage. You look at the year 30-year mortgages were brought about, and you watch the housing prices for the next 5 years after that. That wasn't inflation. That was the fact that people could bid higher because their monthly payment was lower.
Mm-hmm.
That drove a massive increase in home values.
Almost.
Absolutely insane increase in home values. Why do you think baby boomers went from living in a $25,000 or a $10,000 house to a $500,000 house and did nothing?
Well, I was about to say, I wonder if this is the reason why car prices have, basically doubled as...
it's one of the reasons.
As the average car loan has stretched out from 5 years to 7 years to about to be 8 years.
It is absolutely one of the reasons, because the consumers, see, not to shit on most people, But the price that they care about is how much do they have to spend every month?
Which is
because they've never written an $80,000 check for an F-150 Lightning. They write a $1,200 check for the F-150 Lightning once a month.
That is nauseating, and a lot of people itself, though.
They do. It is. Especially when I look at my pickup that I bought in 2015, and it was like $26,000 brand new. That exact same truck on the lot today is, I think, $52,000. Do that same make, model, and package.
I just figured out.
Granted, there's more features.
I just figured out what was screwed up on my IRA spreadsheet math. It's too late to fix it.
That's fine, but what'd you do?
Okay, so my entire premise was goofed up. I was looking at interest calculated on the value on the principal, but that's not actually how IRAs work. The interest accrues on the value of the share, and it's the number of shares you purchase. So
yes,
like if you own, like if a share is $1,000, then you get interest on that $1,000. You don't get. No, that still doesn't explain it. It's gonna bug me until I figure it out. And
you will figure
I'm
it
smart
out, and you will share it in the Patreon.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that when I finally do figure it out, I'm gonna be really pissed at myself for not being able to put it together and like on the fly, because I know this. I should know this.
See, Raggle, one of the reasons why you've never thought about mortgage loans being directly related to price is because most of us alive today that are in the house buying time of our lives have never known anything other than 30-year mortgages. Yep. When my grandfather signed the loan for his first house, it was a 5-year loan, and it was $11,000. He sold that house in 2008 for $470,000.
Yep. I will also point...
He added a garage. He added an outbuilding. That was what was changed.
I will also point this out, not just to Raggle, but for whoever the other person is watching, because the listenership has fallen off, which means it's almost time to dovetail this to a completion after we ask Andrew where the hell he's been for all this time.
We do need an Andrew update.
Yeah. But, like, I would just say that the same lesson that I applied to paying off my car or my truck early applies to mortgages, and it applies to mortgages even more because the loan term of a mortgage is stretched out so much more. It takes a comparatively small additional principal payment to cut years off the backside of the mortgage, and by cutting years off the backside of the mortgage, bear in mind I didn't graph it. I probably should have. It would have made for a really interesting graph, but like let's take this as an XY axis. And on the y-axis is the amount of interest each payment is, and on the x-axis is the amount of principal. So your very first payment is like way.
It's mostly interest.
It's way up here because most of your payment is interest. Comparatively small amount is principal, and it's not a straight, but it's almost a straight vertical or diagonal line down to the other side where your last payment is almost all principal and virtually no interest. You turn this from a diagonal line into a parabola by making extra principal payments so that you break down the principal remaining, which means you break down the interest accrued, and you get there faster. You get to the point where more of your money is going to principal. You get there faster by making extra principal payments every month, and not big money, $50. Better yet, simple math, and anybody should be able to do this. Whatever your monthly payment is on your mortgage, I'm going to simplify all the math. Sure. Round it up to the nearest 100 and add 100.
Yep.
That's all it is. If you pay like...
it'll pay it off 5 years sooner.
If you pay, let's say it's $1,185, $1,200, add it up, $1,300. $1,300 is your new payment. Make sure when you increase that payment that however you pay the loan that they apply the extra amount to principal, not to escrow, because those smartasses will try to apply it to escrow, and that doesn't do you any good. Make sure it goes to principal. No. Now, the trick here, I did the math personally on my own mortgage, And by making that extra principal payment, which I don't really want to disclose because I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I do the same thing. Round it up to the nearest 100, add 100. I've been doing that for years. And every time the mortgage goes up or down a little bit because the escrow amount changes, I apply the same formula. Round up to the nearest 100, add another 100. I will pay this mortgage off if we just ride it out and stay the course 7 years early. Mm-hmm. It is so doable. It is so simple. Finance the minimum you have to, get the best interest rates you can, and make extra principal payments. And that will make all the math around interest paid over the lifetime of a loan math a lot better.
So, Ragel has a good point. Whether a $250,000 house was a 10-year or a 30-year, he wouldn't offer $750K just because he could do a 30-year. But, Ragel, I will say this. It's not offering $750K or $250K. It's you and your wife are bidding on a house against another couple and their wife, and well, what's an extra $5,000 on the price of the house to get the house that your wife wants in the school district you guys want to put your kids in? But every single couple's willing to do that over the course of 50 years now. That's what it is. Yeah. It's that extra $4,000 or $5,000 or $3,000 or $10,000 or the extra $20,000 if you're in New York or California that each person's willing to pay over each of those little transactions that slowly drives that price up, and you still get that asymptotic curve.
Mm-hmm. And this is also the point where I point out that, like, let's say hypothetically you had just a check and you could drop it and pay the house off in full. Mm-hmm. That's reasonable. But going back to the concept that Nick talked about earlier, we didn't really get into this a lot in this discussion, but like it's the opportunity cost. Mm-hmm. What is the interest? What is the interest you are potentially saving over the lifetime of a 10 or 30 or 15 or 30-year mortgage? How much more money could that same money make if you stuck it in the stock market or stuck it in an IRA and let it accrue interest for the same 10, 15, 30 years? That's the opportunity cost of, do I spend this money now, or do I put the money here, or do I put the money here? And this is the exact same calculation, by the way, you have to do when you have a discussion about, I've got an extra $100. Do I put an extra $100 to pay off my car? Do I use an extra $100 to pay more principal on the house? Do I put this in my IRA? A financial advisor, if you're in that boat, can help you out with a lot of these decisions, and I am not one, and I encourage you to go find one if you think you need one. I would just say that, like, go into the discussion with the understanding that there is no universal do this, profit, right answer. It's all decisions, consequences. It's all opportunity cost. It's all interest earned versus interest paid. It all boils down to that. Mm-hmm. Like, the principles hold true, but the particulars are down to your individual situation. And I am not going to give anybody specific advice.
No, we can't. Unfortunately, there are way too many particulars to anybody's situation to give specific advice, but the general trend of advice is usually fairly safe.
Yeah. Mo money, mo problems. Don't make dumb financial decisions. That's going to put you a lot further down the road of beating inflation than getting rolled by it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, Andrew, we need an Andrew update. How was South America?
Next episode. This has been going on too long.
Oh,
what? Nonsense. We're usually here till 9.
Are you going to be here next episode?
It is 10 o'clock.
Bullshit, it isn't. This is Central Time.
Yeah.
2 versus 1.
Yeah. I'll be here in another 2 or 3 months, maybe a year. I don't know.
Jackass.
God damn it, Andrew. We need an Andrew update that's not South American dictator overthrowing.
I mean, I'm not in a hippie compound.
Hair's too short.
Okay. Hold on a second. I do believe there were farm animals involved, though.
Yeah. I live on a small farm.
Good.
Sold the house.
Good. Excellent.
Sold the house, paid off student loans. Nice. You want to talk about a predatory loan? We can get that.
Yeah, we got problems with student loans.
Yeah, so no, paid student loans off. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no, things are going good. Bought a tractor. So
Nice.
I'm not an official farmer like Win, but it does what I need it to do. So
Hey, man, all tractor is good tractor. I mean, I've got a tiny little garden tractor, and that thing puts in work.
right, but yeah, no, next time I get a Thursday off, which the only reason I'm off on this Thursday is 'cause I was supposed to be very far south, but it just didn't pan out. So kept the week off. I've been working on the bathroom in the house, trying to remodel some
Nice.
stuff, and yeah, it's been busy. So I don't know. In another, I don't have to look at my schedule, but probably in another like month or two, I should have another Thursday off.
Yeah. Well, when you find out, let us know, and we will schedule a specific Andrew themed episode.
A more exciting topic than finance that I slept through.
I only do this once a year, man. Come on.
We've kept him to radios once a year and finance once a year.
Yes.
Or when viewers ask a specific question.
I mean, I do have a topic to spend a whole episode talking about radios and satellite dishes and SDR and downlinking satellite data and weather data and everything.
And why Meshtastic is just giving away your location to anyone that can scan.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people playing with Meshtastic. Huh?
So let's not get into that right now. It's keep you guys on task.
No.
Never. I refuse to stay on task.
Andrew, Nick has taken up the mantle of you used to keep me on task. He gets me off task on purpose.
Yes.
I'll have to schedule in an hour and 10 minutes just to keep you guys on task.
Yes. That is correct.
No, I figured I had a Thursday, so I wanted to stop in and say hi. So,
no, dude. I mean,
it's good to see you.
It is good to see you. We could have, if we'd known you were coming, we could have picked a more engaging topic than you.
That's okay.
Going to sleep watching spreadsheets all night. But you know, it's Garrick's fault. He's the complaint department tonight.
Truth.
All right. Well, we won't belabor the point. I've talked everybody's ears off. Everybody's falling asleep. It's an hour and 20 minutes. Don't finance stupid shit. Don't finance it at stupid rates. Don't finance it for stupid periods of time. Don't do stupid things financially. And you just might not have to be a Walmart greeter until you're 85 years old. But, matter of fact,
podcast, you're not going to be able to die. You can't die with your money, so spend it and be stupid about it.
Yeah, but
good
ostensibly
Lord.
You should die like the day you run out of money and not like 10 years after you run out of money.
It's okay.
Anyway, matter of fact, it's going to go out the door. Good night, everybody. Tune in next week. We have a topic. I just can't for the life of me remember what on earth it was going to be.
I'll remind you.
I'm sure we'll figure it out. All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Bye.